You're listening to the Slaying Self-Doubt podcast, where we empower women of faith to identify, acknowledge, and accept their doubts and limits and beliefs in order to give birth to their God-given purpose. Join me and sometimes some of my friends on our journey as we remind you that you are not alone. I'm Felicia Wallace, and together we will find our fears and slay them. Hey y'all, welcome to another episode of Slaying Self-Doubt podcast. It's your girl Felicia Wallace. As always, we start every show thanking all of the new and continued listeners. I don't care how you got here, whether it was by way of a guest episode, a solo episode, you found me on social media, somebody told you should listen. It doesn't matter to me. I'm just glad that you are on this journey with us, and I'm grateful, and I'm grateful for each share. I'm grateful for each mention. I'm grateful for each listen. Every time you tell somebody else about it, like, girl, you need to listen to this episode or you need to listen to this show. I am so grateful. And so I just want to continue to tell you guys that I'm thankful because when I show up to do these episodes, I really do them for you. And so I want you to know how grateful I am for your support and how you just continue to continue to be there for me so that I can continue to show up. Okay, so thank you. The wins for the week. So last week I talked about refilling your cup and the importance of understanding that it's your responsibility and knowing that you are responsible for filling your cup, not anybody else's, but knowing that there's only so much we could do if we are on E, right? And I had a couple of people actually posted a question about it on Instagram. I had a few people saying that, they were going to do different things to make sure that their cups will fill, whether it was reading or getting a pedicure. Somebody mentioned catching up on some shows. Y'all know I love some shows, so that is definitely cooking, getting a change of scenery. And so for me, one of the things that I did in order to refill my cup is that we came to visit my parents. I told y'all before, they live in Florida, and so it's something about this sun, right? Like we literally went from a slam 35 degrees to 80 in a matter of hours, because we drove 14 hours. And we've done it a couple of times, but because this was kind of on a whim of like, okay, we need to change really quickly, and like it was a last minute decision, but it was something that we knew we all needed. I just was like, oh man, this is so nice, but it is brutal on your body. Honestly, it really is. So yesterday I had the opportunity to be able to just sit down and just rest, and I'm so grateful that I did. I took the time to just be in the moment, right? I mentioned that I want to be in the moment more often so that I can experience this journey versus like looking back and being like, how did I get here, right? And so yesterday I had the opportunity to be able to just sit where my parents live. It's a very quiet neighborhood, but in their backyard there's a lake, and so you get the breeze off the lake. It's like 82 degrees, something like that, and it was just really nice for me to just sit, read, but I had this moment where a moment of mindfulness, really, where I just was in gratitude. Like I was just grateful to God, one, that he was able to provide us the ability to be able to get down here, right? I was grateful for the fact that, my husband was able to get the time off, that the kids are in virtual learning at this moment, and that, I pretty much work wherever. My workspace is mobile. I can just pick my mic up and go. But then also very much so that I have a safe place to go to. I know especially during this time, so many people have been in their houses for over a year. And I'm just so grateful that we have a space to be able to go to be able to be around our loved ones, and it be just a change of scenery, because sometimes that's exactly what we need. And so in that moment, I just was so grateful that all the things had just aligned to be able for us to be here at that moment, right? Because my parents could have moved anywhere. Well, they could have, but we always knew they was going to move to Florida. But, that they moved here, or they could have lived anywhere in Florida, right? But just to be in this space and be able to be present, to be able to just enjoy this time was something that really just kind of warmed my heart. And I felt so, I just felt at peace, right, about everything. And I was able to take a moment to just kind of reflect on, these last couple of weeks and the things that I have been doing and what I need to do going forward. And you guys know that, one of my words for this year is obedience. And I just was really taking that moment to ask him, like, have I truly been obedient? And, yeah. It could go either way. But it was like in this moment, I really just had to do some additional self-reflection. So the win for this week is that I was intentional about refilling my cup, and I will continue to refill my cup, while we're here, and be able to take that full cup back home with me. So that is something that I am super duper grateful for. The announcements for this week are pretty much the same. Just continue to follow us on social media platforms. Join the newsletter and join the family, the Slang Self-Doubt family. You guys know that I launched the small group, the group coaching at the beginning of March, and registration ended March 18th. And y'all know the story. This podcast was an assignment from God that had my self-doubt and limiting beliefs telling me that nobody would listen. But you, yes, you, kept showing up every week to listen to this podcast. And because you keep showing up, so do I. If you enjoy this podcast and would love to support me and future episodes, please consider making a donation by simply purchasing me a coffee. If you would like to donate, click the Buy Me a Coffee link. Now, back to the show. I'm gonna be honest, y'all. That was a hard one for me. So this is going to be a very transparent moment. I told y'all at the beginning that I a couple of episodes ago that obedience is my responsibility, and my responsibility in being obedient, specifically with this group coaching thing, was to just put it out there, right, and to publish it. And I had a piece about it because I felt like I did exactly what God wanted me to do, and I wasn't really concerned about the outcome, because I felt like whatever was going to be was going to be. I've had some lessons that I've learned in what I should have done versus what I shouldn't have done, some things that were missing that I need to go back and fix, and all of those things. And one of the things that came out of it is that nobody signed up, right? So that's fine. Was I disappointed? I was. But what I also learned is that had I not even done it, usually I would have just stopped. I would have not mentioned it. I would have pushed it aside. I wouldn't have even published it. I probably would have said something. I'm like, oh, I'm just going to push it out there and do it another time. And, whatever the case may be. And over these last couple of weeks, I've been able to just really rethink, like, what could I have done differently? I could have prepared better, to be honest, because it wasn't like I didn't know that was on my heart and that's what God wanted me to do. But I procrastinated and I bojangled because of my own self-doubt and my fear of, was anybody going to sign up, and all those things happening was really causing me to, like, just slow down the process. And so, hey, y'all know it. I told y'all I'm a professional wing-getter. And so I winged it, right? I winged it. And I literally sat down for like 16 hours on that Sunday into that Monday. And I did everything I needed to do. It's kind of like a crash course of stuff. And I learned so much about myself in that moment, in that never do anything last minute that God has already told you to do, right? He had been put that on my heart, and I could have been working on it, but because I figured, I'll make it work, I'll figure it out. Later, when later actually came, I couldn't figure it all the way out. I didn't know all the things that I was supposed to do, and winging it wasn't necessarily the most effective way to be able to get what I needed, right? I am not an entrepreneur by spirit. We know that this is not anything I wanted to do. And so even in making sure that I was connected to the right people, or having the right people help me, or doing it the correct way. However you launch any type of product, or anything, sometimes it's not enough to just do it, right? You got to complete it. And I had to be honest with myself, is that all I did was start. I did not complete it. There was no follow through for me. It was like I did it and then I moved on to what was comfortable for me. Moved on, like literally the very next day I went into pitching people for the podcast. And I know that 2021 is about coaching, and I know that that is what God wants me to do. And He's already laid the foundation out for me, exactly what it's supposed to be about. But I keep trying to control the narrative. I keep trying to control the outcome. I keep trying to control how it's supposed to come about. And I feel like in this with this example of launching this group coaching was like a lesson learned for me of like, no, when God tells you to do something, you do that. Stop trying to create something and make it different than what it is that you needed to be. Now, do I have clarity on the fact that I'm supposed to do this group coaching? I absolutely am. Was I supposed to do it right now? I told y'all, imposter syndrome is real. When I'm in those moments of doubt and anxiety, I ask myself, who's going to listen to you? Did God really call you to do this? Or, girl, ain't nobody trying to pay you to talk to them? These thoughts lead me to procrastination and being paralyzed by my fears and doubts. Throughout this journey of slaying my own self doubt, I have some tried and true practical steps that have helped me, and I would love to share them with you. Head on over to my website at www.feliciawallace.com and download the 5 ways to slay your self doubt. Now back to the show. Probably not. If I'm being honest, I wasn't supposed to do it. But guess what? Group coaching is what I already do, and so is what I'm comfortable with, right? And so I went we revert back to what's comfortable, and it's like, oh, okay, well, let me just go ahead and do this. But the other problem is that if you were to go look at my social media page, if you were to go to look in even the newsletters, only thing that I promote is the podcast. And so why would anybody trust me as a coach if all I show is that I'm a podcaster? When you tell people, when people are saying stuff about me, it's and I've said this before, that, it was a surprise to me, like, oh yeah, I'm a coach. Yeah, I'm doing this. But if you're not actively walking in that thing, if you don't believe you, why are other people supposed to believe you? And for me, that was the revelation that I got yesterday during that quiet, grateful, and mindful moment for myself, was really about the fact that if you don't trust you and you don't believe that this is exactly what you're supposed to do, then what are you doing, right? Like, again, I've said this before, I could podcast and work. Like, this is not anything that this takes me 15, 20 minutes and 30 minutes at max, an hour for the interviews to be able to do. I could do that and still go to work, but that is not what God called me to do. He called me to intentionally coach women of faith who need to identify their fears so that they can slay their self-doubt. That's like the paraphrasing as always, but that is what He called me to do, and I'm not doing that. I'm not doing what it is that He purposed me to do because I wanted to look a certain way. I'm ready for something, and I really had to humble myself, and I had to tell myself, sis, Felicia, for real, I'm going to need you to go back to the drawing board, and I'm going to need you to connect with Him specifically. Connect with Him so that He can tell you what the next step is. You did this, and again, we talked about being out of order, right? Like, once I was in it, it was like, okay, well, God's telling me to do group coaching, and I can do group coaching because I can do it on this day, and da-da-da. Like, it was already playing out in my head, and it wasn't a hard no, because He's, and I was warm, right? I was warm. I was in the area where it was, but here it was that I had already said, these are the things that I'm going to do, versus saying, I know it's coaching, but God, what is it that you want me to do first? And during this time that I've been able to refill my cup, He's been able to download in me exactly what He wanted me to do. And, I really want to, this podcast and me doing this is always about this journey of letting you all know that stuff just don't happen overnight. People don't wake up and they just are millionaires unless you win the lottery. But when you're working on something and you're working in your purpose, it doesn't always, we have to do the work and you cannot skip steps. And I've told you these things over and over again. You cannot skip the steps of obedience. And I told you how I've been out of order with him before, and I've been, I've done things in my own strength. And this wasn't necessarily a thing of like, oh, you're going to do it your way and, forget what God said. No, I had him in it, but was I really listening? Did I really put a pause on? Did I even do all the work that was necessary, or did I just jump all the way to the end? I had therapy, and, I was telling my therapist about like the fact that I realized in the end that I skipped some steps. Like I did the thing, but I didn't do every single thing that leads up to it. So when we talk about, preparing, we'll just use a big meal like Thanksgiving dinner, right? Like in your mind, you already know what needs to be. You got to have some turkey, you got to have some greens, some macaroni, some stuffing. Some people like cranberry sauce. It's we be having some chitlins. You got to have ham, so what the menu is. But before you even get to Thanksgiving dinner, you have to prepare it. Well, before you prepare it, you got to buy it. Before you buy it, you have to shop it. Before you shop it, you have to go to the store. Before you go to the store, you have to get in the car. Before you get in the car, you got to get dressed. You know what I'm saying? Like, even we bypass those steps. We would say get up and go to the store. Well, before you go to the store, you need to brush your teeth, wash your face, have your coffee, get dressed, walk outside, take a phone. Like there's things that happen in the midst of all of that, but we quick to just be like Thanksgiving dinner, right? And for me, I was at like Thanksgiving dinner. I didn't do all of the steps in between to finally get to Thanksgiving dinner, because it may have just started with, I don't have to cook the whole meal. Maybe all I got is macaroni and greens. But here I am, just threw myself into the whole thing, and now I'm cooking dinner, right? Like, how do we have a whole meal and it ain't even complete? Because all I bought was the greens and the macaroni. We not even, was somebody else supposed to bring the turkey? Was somebody else supposed to bring the ham? You know what I'm saying? We are so quick to just get to the end without getting through all of the steps. And what he showed me is that if this is the big goal, which is definitely group coaching, what are the things underneath it that you're going to have to do before you get there? And it's a journey. This is not a race. This is not, and if I'm racing anybody, I'm really racing myself, right? Like that's the only person I'm in competition with when it comes to this, because nobody else is doing this. That he's not giving this to anybody else. This is mine. So what am I in a hurry for? He ain't rushing it. So why am I? You know what I'm saying? And once I kind of realized that, okay, you missed some steps because you were trying to hurry up and get to the end so you can say, hey, look, I did it. You know what I'm saying? And then he was like, but did you? Did you really do what I asked you to do? And in some ways, yes, but in other ways, no. So today's message is that slow down, right? Continue when you're being obedient. Make sure that God is with you in every step of the way. And sometimes it's okay to go back and look at it and just take your time with doing it. When you are operating in purpose, God will make sure that everything around you is taken care of. When I tell you that throughout this entire season, God has been a provider. He has been a protection. He has been covering me and my family throughout this whole thing. And so when at one point in time, I was fearful of the fact that God would not give me, financially be able to support me or financially give me what it was that I needed, He has shown me that I got you. As long as you are in purpose with me and in connection with me, I got you. You don't have to worry about that. And so that's not even a worry of mine. It's not a worry because He's already shown me that He's going to provide. And so my thing is that what do you, at first it was like, oh, with the shirts, it was like, okay, well, I gotta make sure that I get the money. I gotta make sure that I do this. And He's all, no, you don't have to do that. I got that. And I can see that. So now what am I rushing for? What is it? Is it not fame, but is it fame? Is it accolades? Is it, for somebody to notice you? Is it for more likes? Is it for more, like, what are you rushing for? What is it that you're rushing for? And once I have to sit down and I have to, you know, take accountability for that. Like, what are you doing? Like, it really was for me to be able to say, like, I did it. Oh, look at me, look at what I'm doing. And really, you know, not doing that was out of order, right? Because that's not what he asked me to do. If I'm here for the people and I'm here to be doing his work and I am his vessel, he has to use me and he will move me. When it's time for me to move, he will move me. And so instead of me rushing this game, I have to look at it like, my husband always says this with like finances. I told you, he like a money guru. He always be like, I don't play checkers, I play chess. And it's methodical, right? A chess game, I've seen it last forever. If people like move a piece, so I don't know what they call it. I guess a piece, right? They move a piece and a person could walk away. And then somebody else can come and look and see, oh, this, you know, like it could just sit there. It don't have to necessarily go really fast, right? And I'm just saying we're going to have to play chess with this. And I'm playing chess with the master. Like, he already know the moves, right? And here I am. I'm trying to figure it out. Like, and I'm never going to beat him. That's really what it boils down to. I will never have checkmate. Not a one time. Won't even get close. And so instead of me trying to rush the process and get to the end quicker, I just need to focus on me, do what I need to do to be the mind my business. That's what I need to do. Instead of minding God's business and trying to do his job, I need to mind my own business and make sure that he is with me every step of the way. And so I just want to encourage you all to just continue to keep him on the forefront, continue to make sure that you are in connection with him and that you are allowing him to lead you and you are not trying to lead him. I want to make sure that you are taking the time to refill your cup and make sure that you are full for whatever it is that God has for you, whether it's to lead, you know, to support your family, support your friends, support your business, whatever it is, you have to be whole. And, you know, that's our responsibility to make sure that we do it. So make sure that you're doing that as well. I'm going to continue to fill my cup this week. I'm going to continue to fill my cup this week and make sure that I am ready for what's next. So until next week, see ya. We end every episode with the serenity prayer, and it goes as follows. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. All right, y'all, that's all for this week. Thanks for listening, and don't forget to share, subscribe, rate, and review. Remember to head over to Facebook and Instagram and follow me at Slaying Self-Doubt. Oh, wait, don't forget, go to my YouTube channel and watch this episode, and remember to press the subscribe button. Until next week, see ya.